Who's going first? Are you or me?
It doesn't matter. You can go. I'm just going to get the link out.
Well, let me get this chart, then I need to clean it up while we go. Because it's messy. Fork means nothing here, so let's hide that. Balance means nothing. What else can we hide? I'll hide my EMAs. That's funny.
We hit that daily. Or are we in the gold pocket?
We're in the gold pocket now. This is
the untapped daily. Is what I'm looking at down at like 18.4.
Yeah, we've got the 786 just below that as well, which is.
I don't even pay attention to the 786 at all.
No, I don't put too much weight into it, but just because it's just below the untapped daily, I'm looking at it like in case they wanted to run through it and come back up. That's all I was looking at. How's it Bonnet is first, Twin is in.
I guess I should put this on the old Twitter.
Shield daddy.
Yep.
I know Tahir was saying that SFP just above here.
I put zero weight on that.
But the 18.210 one, what about that one?
You zoom out. Go to the fucking weekly chart.
Oh, yeah, weekly. I guess on the weekly means nothing, but on the daily, it is actually a valid SFP.
You're not even looking fucking goddamn fucking. When you're looking at the weekly chart, there is one right next to it, 2 weeks over, 461. That is a far more important level than 18.2 or 18.2, whatever obscure number he put there. Mainly because you're looking for high time frame closures. So when you're using this, if you're going to be looking left, especially as far left as you're going, and you're not using anything above a daily, or I guess he's using a 15-minute. I mean,
he's on a 15-minute one now.
Yeah, you're not looking for that. You're gonna get your ass reamed, and it's gonna get fucking blown through like probably 60% of the time, but the other 4 times you're gonna think you're God. So you're gonna end up losing money overall eventually anyway. So you just need to play the high time frames. Repeated myself on this a million times.
Okay, so 13 people in here. I'm going to go over what just occurred in the order flow. So let me pop this one in big. So came down to this is the trading view value area low for the previous day. It was in this area. There was literally not one thing that I could find in the order flow that, catered to us to get a big push up. Now, the market structure, you could argue, okay, you put in a high low here, but really, you didn't reclaim any level. There was nothing in the order flow to say there was any market maker activity to push you up. I actually think that they started to push it up to take out a few shorts that were built up. Then you had, right at the top, you had some positions changing hands. You had, again, the volume has been pretty bad until we just started that drop. So until effectively the New York markets fully opened, the volume was pretty crap. So as you moved up here, right at the top, you can see we've got a solid green bubble, which is people getting wrecked, liquidated. Open interest was only 186 for a 5.5 million dollar candle. Delta is also very high on the positive side. So what that tells you is, okay, someone's been liquidated here, but the positions haven't just gone away. Someone's taken those positions uh, on themselves. So that's how open interest works. When it's a contract between two people. If the open interest is as it is there, which is very mediocre, it shows that the positions will have changed hands. So someone's pushed it up, taken out. You could look and say, okay, they've taken out $3.4 million worth of shorts, and they've taken them positions onto themselves. To which we then, as we moved away, you had shorts coming in. Again, not too much on the open interest. It was only 658. Delta was very, well, I say very. It was 1.6 million negative, and you got the selling imbalances pushing you away from the level. It was also the previously point of control on the on Exocharts. As you pushed away, volume didn't really build up until it just bolted down. But you had shorts building up, imbalances building up on the way. It was you had enough signals to jump into a short here if you were watching the order flow. If you were waiting for trading view, you'd been waiting for the view up. You'd probably be waiting for these highs to maybe get taken. But yeah, it was really the order flow that allowed you to jump into a short in that area. There wasn't really too much on the scalp bait template. It was certainly the footprint chart that really gave it away. The scalp bait template didn't really give you anything of value. You got a high percentage candle pretty much at the high, which was your entry trigger. Other than that, other than the shorts building, open interest increasing as the delta was going negative and price was going down. The real telling sign was in the footprint chart. So that's what just occurred. Now, right now, as we're in the golden pocket, if I can pull this back over here, we've got more shorts building up here. We've probably got some positions changing hands on a smaller scale down here with a negative 2.2 and stale open interest. It is an area you could possibly bounce in the golden pocket for sure, especially as you've got shorts coming in. But what you can see here, where you can see buyers coming in, if these aren't pushing us anywhere, if these aren't pushing us out of the golden pocket that we're now in, they're going to be fueled to the downside. Now, I'll let Magic go over what his thoughts are, obviously a bit more, but we were just discussing at the start then a SFP on the weekly time frame that really lines up well with that daily that is untapped. So, big area there. And I've also put the 786 there. It gives you a little box in case you wick through to, look at the order flow and then possibly pick up a position there. But yeah, right now we've got buyers coming in, but unless they start to push us away, for me, it's not a buy right now. So any chance to improve screen? It's blurry. Let me have a look. I'm actually the highest video quality that this streaming can get.
I say they probably need to adjust their settings. They can probably adjust it to 1080p. If they've got poor data connection, it'll throttle it down on their end. So they have to go into their settings and adjust, because if you're streaming in 1080p, because it's clear on mine, I can see it clear as day.
It's also because my screen is pretty wide as well. So if you're on a phone or a tablet, it might be that be the reason. I'm on a curved wide screen. So, but that's my thought process in the immediate. Now we've got a 50-minute PVA down to here, which again deals with tapping that daily below. You have got this nice PVA that's just formed here, which would take us up to the current previous state equilibrium. Obviously, the time frame on that is 48 hours. Yes, so that'll be the reason that it's below. It's because you're on a phone and I'm on a super wide screen. So apologies about that. Time is fine. But yeah, in the immediate, that's what I'm looking for. I'm waiting for that daily. I think you are too. So rather quick.
Bueno. No, quick is good. Quick is good. I'll steal it from you here in just a second.
If anything changes here, I'll take it back and just mention what goes on in the order flow. But for now, you've got buyers coming in, but nothing really happening. You've got shorts actually piling in as well down here, which again is a good sign. But you've got to get above where their positions are to then start to think about testing where their stop losses will be. But yeah, anyway, sorry, I'll let you get on to it, Magic.
No, you're good, man. I'm just pulling a range anyway. It's not like I'm doing anything too crazy. 75, 82.50. That's
Morning, Michael Myers.
Look who decided to show up. Morning.
I didn't realize you guys were setting up the stream already. I was gonna set up a nice like preset one with the timer, all this and all that. And you guys were like, we're already in here. I was like, oh, okay, let's go.
We said 9 o'clock, right?
Gotta get up, my boy.
9 o'clock my time. That's 10 your time. Let's roll when we say so. Yeah, I mean, the move here is pretty simple. You're trying to maintain the low of the range. It's that simple. You've come up, you've back tested points of control. You're coming into some key daily level support down below the range. And anytime you've been living down in this area, it's been one of those things where pressure is on to this low. So if you are starting to break down from your local structure, you're going to want to see follow through from shorts. We're coming into macro fib time. So for me, this is one of those areas where if you're looking at the positions, you might be saying, I think you should buy the fear. Me, on the other hand, I'm probably going to wait on this one. We've been buying these lows the entire range, but you are approaching the end of a close to 100-day range. So for me, this is one of those things where it's a wait and see. S&P 500. So for all the people that are saying traditional markets, got to talk about that. I've been covering this low key in the group for a little while. You're basically looking at this as an overall range right now. And you've seen that you've been basically rejected at the Q1 low from this year. So this is the Q1 low trying to get back inside the value area. And you're having no such luck on a high time frame. If you zoom into like a daily chart, it looks like you peeked your head in a little bit. However, the S&P 500 is a pretty high time frame chart. So it's one of those where I would definitely want to see something else. And this is a pretty nasty monthly candle. So I'm still expecting these levels down here on the S&P 500. You are coming into the 2021 low. You can see this block right here. So this is your 2021 low. So you've already swept it. You've had the reaction, and now you're coming back to the support area. So if this area is lost, I'm looking for that move down into the 33.72, and then over time probably 32.39.02, which if that is going to happen, you have to be looking at this as the resolution of Bitcoin's range as well. And basically you're looking for lower targets. I'm not looking at 16K or any of these other levels at all for support, to be honest with you. I think those are just intermittent bounces. And if it did reverse from here, like took the low and reverse, because there is some support from the chart over in this region, then I'm okay with being late to the move and not trying to catch that knife. That's all I'll really say about it. So it's coming to a pretty predictable inflection point, I guess I should say. And what I mean by that is, if you've been following and you're in the group, so I know you've been following and paying attention, we've been talking about fib time and talking about the areas that we're coming into timing wise and why they're so important. And so this is going to be more of a weekly time frame thing, and that we've been eyeballing the week of the 26th for quite some time. And the next one after that is going to be October 9th is the day. So the week of the 26th, or Monday the 26th, is the beginning of next week. And that is actually a pretty big inflection point if you're running things based on the idea that this is all going to be symmetrical, which you guys have heard me go through this spiel a million times, but this is all a giant one-to-one. So what I mean by that is if you measure, again, low to high, to low, right? You can see that we spent the exact same amount of time from our cycle low here at $150 up to 20K as we did going from 3K to 20K. So you have an exact identical symmetrical cycle. And it didn't do a one-to-one in price though. You did come into really key areas, both for like Fibonacci on like the 1618 if you're doing the 20K to 3K low. But if you turn this into log scale, you'll also see that you came right into your golden pocket. So you just basically couldn't perform the one-to-one in price because that's an absolutely ridiculous price number. But you did hit the 618, you hit the 1618 in log, you hit the negative 0.25, and you did it all with perfect symmetrical timing. And so now if we're looking for similar timing, it doesn't have to work out this way, but markets do often rhyme. because the amount of time it takes to go from highs and lows it's usually pretty similar because investors don't really change much. So you'll see that's why you see cycles that work, because investors rarely change their behaviors. So the same amount of time it takes to get from really overextended back to equilibrium oftentimes ends up being similar. So in this case, you can see that your bottom came in on the 886. It's the only reason that we're watching for that time pivot. Otherwise, I normally wouldn't. But the cycles are coming in. The lows have been coming in a little bit faster than the 1-to-1. And if that were to continue, your low would be sometime between the 26th out to, the end of the year, possibly in November. So this is an inflection point. And as far as the Fed goes, when we look at the S&P 500 coming into support, so it really does need to hold this support. And you look at the overall market dynamics with the rate hikes, you have to be looking at this and probably exercising a little bit of caution. Maybe wait to see a confirmed reversal before allocating too much capital in this region. Doesn't mean you can't buy for the long term. You just have to be aware that if you do, there's a significant drawdown that can take place. If your time horizon is long enough, you're just trying to get a good average. But there is a difference in buying, heavily in this region versus heavily down here. You have to weigh those consequences with your own capital and your own plan, and be able to live with the results is the most important thing, because you may be holding these positions a long time. And if we get down this low and the S&P is coming back to this region and it doesn't hold, because this is just the top of the Corona crash, it's your gold pocket. There's a lot of untapped key levels down here that we really statistically, you have to know they're going to fill eventually. Most likely they will. I guess they don't have to, but most likely they will fill. Then you could see a pretty nasty move. Like if this were to lose this area of the chart, I mean, you are coming back to like pre-COVID, lows here, basically. That would be worst case scenario. And in that instance, I don't really think that we have a bottom on Bitcoin, even in like the 13 to 10K range. I think at that point you have to look lower. So for now, just kind of taking it day by day. There's going to be a little bit of volatility, I think, through the end of the month. And for me, I'm going to watch a lot of that. I'm not going to lie. It's one of those things where there's no point in getting too involved in it when there's no real clear direction and the trend is still so strongly bearish. If you're holding shorts from higher, which is my play for long-term positions, and then I've accumulated some sub 19 Bitcoin here, but again, allocations are so light and compared to what I'm willing to allocate for the bear market that it's not a big deal to me, because I made sure that those are just kind of like beginning entries and that you still have a lot of fresh powder. So it is what it is. I don't know that there's any. Matt said, can this just nuke, please? 6, sell, sold, sell, run. Nobody is panicking over there. So to me, this was a kind of one of those things where you're playing the range until it isn't a range, essentially. That's it. You've got a range that's pretty clear right here. If I can get my computer to work here. You've got a very, very clear range, and you had very, very clear resistance. And one thing to touch on was that we were talking about how, if there is to be a reversal, what do we need to see? You've got nothing but lower highs here. So in reality, until Bitcoin was back above, for me, 20,688. And what I mean by that is like living above it. So if we get rid of the ATS range that I've just transposed onto the screen, you get back above this level and actually stay here and start pushing, then there's time to celebrate. But until that happens, there is no real reversal. Even if we bounced out of this region from this daily, which could happen, until you've reclaimed significant ground and there's a sign of strength in price action, these are all lower highs. These have not accomplished anything just yet. So it would be in your best interest to, in my opinion, it's a trader's market. So if you're not sitting it out and you're taking longs, doesn't mean you can't. Obviously, there's been some great run-ups here, 20+% run-ups. Just make sure that you're taking care of those positions and making sure that you've locked in some gains. Otherwise, you're going to be, you could be sitting on, I bought down here, I thought I was a genius all the way up here, and now you're sitting underwater potentially, or close to your position going, I hope this doesn't nuke. So that is where the traders kind of have the advantage. If you're a long-term investor, you don't care about any of this probably. But you keep up with the markets every day, so I would say that you probably do. That's really all I've got. S&P is covered. We're coming into support, so if it gets a bounce, that would be great. But if it doesn't bounce here, this is actually a very, very big inflection point. You don't want to see your 2021 yearly low and open turned into resistance. And if that's the case, you have to be looking back down. You could go all the way back to, again, 2020. We just talked about it. And you could say, well, if we're targeting 2020s, in POC and the golden pocket here and an untapped pivot, well, you can see the top of that range comes in where at, right at the 2021 low. So 2020 is merging really nicely with 2021's lows. And if you lose those 2021 lows and find your way back into the 2020 range, you'd expect to come down. So to these targets, which are just statistical probabilities at that point. That's it for me. I don't think I have anything else. Otherwise, I'll just keep going. Probably just repeating myself.
I like it. Give me 2 seconds here.
So I'll just unmute myself. So it looks like nothing's really coming of the buys that came in here. You can see in this candle here, you got the delta came in. You did get a buying imbalance here on the chart, but they just failed to really break out of the, if I zoom in, make that big, get rid of this, zoom in a little bit. You just failed to really break out of the golden pocket. And now, ultimately, the people that have bought down here, that maybe preset here and have been sold into, because clearly some people preset here. You've had some selling imbalances going into this area, which obviously on the other side of them selling imbalances are limit orders. So some people may have preset here. They are now underwater. Also, the buys have entered here. It's not looking good as of right now. It's looking like we are going to go and tap that daily, just from an order flow standpoint right now. CVO, are you ready?
I am ready. I just want to touch on I'm going to go over ETH and XRP pretty much, just because I know XRP is kind of everybody's thing today. Touching on the S&P 500, let me pull up my screen here, right? Just to kind of correlate everything right across the board. So a little muddy at the top here. This is the weekly time frame, but I guess just to go over, the doom and gloom first, and then I'll kind of cover some of the, the upside as well. So you got an untapped weekly, right? That I think that Magic was just kind of touching on in that little gray area box of the current support for the S&P, right? So you are coming into some kind of support, whether it's going to offer up a bounce or not, likely short term, whatever. If you lose that. One of the big ones that we've been looking at is this region right here, and it is an untapped yearly key level down at 3240, right? And then he overlapped that with the fact that that's also basically the COVID dump to the high golden pocket, right? So that's another area of interest if we start losing the region we're in right now, right? Very technical area to come down to, basically on any chart, right? Coming down to this region, right? Does it have to come down there right now? No, but that is definitely something to kind of pay attention for. And the reason I'm bringing this up right now is because of one of the lower targets on Ethereum correlates pretty heavily with, if the S&P hits this region, this is where I would imagine Ethereum would get to. Once again, just kind of covering, the low side first here, and then we'll kind of take a look at some other things. And that level is essentially $500. Reason being, a couple other things lined up with this as well, but one simple reason being that this is the untapped yearly pivot and the untapped yearly key level as well, which, as Magic alluded to earlier, these have a high statistical hit rate. Not that they're 100%, but there is a good probability that this is going to get filled at some point, right? So once again, not that has to happen by any means, but just say we wake up on Monday morning and you got the S&P taking a big hit, Bitcoin, yada, yada, yada. Like, where are you going to be looking for for Ethereum? There's really only a couple of levels, in my opinion, as far as a DCA idea would go through. And that would be one of the major ones here. And we wouldn't probably get there fast, right? That would be probably, if we were going to bottom out, essentially if the bottom's not already in and we were going to continue lower, after that fib time hits on Monday and, kind of go into the end of the year, this would probably be a slow run to that region. Kind of zooming in a little bit. Right, this is that range that we've been looking at for quite some time. This is from Q2 of this year. We had this area mapped off, and I want to bring this one up because once again, even though we do, you always got to be aware of what's below you, but you may not come into that region, right? So where we are right now is a really big area to me. I know that we are kind of on a ledge with Bitcoin and the S&P and this and that, but you also do have to realize we are at support, right? So until these regions start to break, this to me is an area of interest as far as the mid to long-term holds for Ethereum. This was, the area we were looking for those fresh entries. If you had missed this, along this run up back to $2,000, right? Where, buying that region, buying 17, like that really wasn't the play, right? And even if we do, see some of these lower levels from here, as far as your, mid to long-term hold bag would go, you got to anticipate, it's going to, go 20, 30, 40, whatever percent lower, depending on how things really play out. But as Magic said, if you're long-term holding, it shouldn't really be an issue. And if you have some of these regions on your mind, you shouldn't necessarily be going all in at this region anyways. But either way, this is the area that I've been looking for coming back down for fresh entries, whether or not that's a short-term, relief rally, going back up towards the highs, coming back up towards the quarterly VWAP, what have you. But if we do start to lose this region, we do have the quarterly point of control down here at 1100. There is, you know what? Got a cleaner chart over here for you. I was gonna say there's an untapped daily all the way back down here at $1,000. I don't remember which, off the top of my head right there, which daily Max was just talking on. I'm sure I could take a peek real quick, but that would probably correlate with Bitcoin coming down probably back towards that $1,700 low. Is what I would imagine there. This is where Ethereum, price action kind of dropped into that region as well when Bitcoin fell down to 17.5. So coming down to this untapped daily for ETH would be in line with that idea if that was to play out. And like I said, just the few levels that I'd be looking for to the downside for ETH would be that, that would be the next area I'd be looking to get interested in, is right about $1,000. You got the range low coming in, obviously an idea pretty much to the point where, right, you come down, you get a little relief bounce, but if you do just completely still keep coming down, and in this sense, Bitcoin would be coming down past the June low, and if we were just to take the low and then finally just, run it up, that would be the next level, right, is that range low about 880, and then of course you got the pretty much the this would be a back of the truck scenario, right, down here at this untapped about 528. So those are the lower areas. That's what I'd be looking for, and why. It correlates really well with the S&P 500. If we start losing support there, correlates with Bitcoin. I think that all three of these would be hitting those levels, obviously all simultaneously, if that was to play out. Now, as far as upside would go, right, we are at the golden pocket. You are at the overall, you have tapped at least the point of control here for this quarter. Diddling in the middle, essentially, right? Because we were pretty much our dead ass in the middle of this range. We did come all the way back down. You see how we just kind of melted right back through this non-voluminous area. We're kind of holding right at the high here. So for me, we got an untapped weekly level above us, monthly open. Obviously, that's about to change here in a second. We're about to get all new fresh quarterly data and this and that. New key levels, yada, 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 here in about a week, right? So we'll pay attention for some of those for updates. But in the short term here, if we were to start seeing some of this price action start cutting up, essentially, I really want to see this daily cleared over, which is $2,000, which is obviously a ways away from us. You got some smaller, milestones in the short term here. Granted, you come up and take this untapped weekly and really be doing nothing but putting in a lower high. So it's obviously a risk to be, like I said, purchasing in the middle of the range here. 528 is definitely the devil's basement. Yes. And like I said, I mean, it's not a guaranteed area that, we're going to hit. But, stink bids, right? If you were to just be like, man, where would I be buying if the whole market just melted? Those three levels would be my areas, right? I'd be looking at 1,030 or 1,031. Got your range low at 880 and 528. Anything else to me? I mean, that would be the three. And then, like I said, if we were to start coming up from here, once again, you are at support. You are at support for Bitcoin. You are at support on the S&P. Same levels to the upside, essentially, here for Ethereum, right? You still got a range high coming all the way back up at about 2,400. You got an untapped monthly up in this region. We got a quarterly key level, which has been met. And then you got a golden pocket above us as well. So pretty much that would be the route there, right? So I do want to point out that we are, once again, at, that level that we've been looking at for some fresh entries. You'll note that there's mass fear and, kind of almost, I guess, to go not against Magic, obviously, because he tends to get it right a little bit more than me. But we are in a position, though, where, you come down to these levels and everybody is very, very fearful, so, you said earlier, like, buy the fear, this and that could very well be a place where we just come, straight down to the next level. So, but it's always going to be that, very fearful area as we're in it. And even if we do come down to this region, same thing, even as we're speaking right now, we are aware of levels below us. You always have to. But I think that everybody constantly will be, just looking lower no matter what until you get there. It's always hindsight when, you get something like this. Even we spent so much time in this region and then we had 140% rally, right? And everybody that was living out these days right here waiting for probably that $500 at the time, or lower, 750, I think, was the target of choice. Missed out on that little run up, and then probably bought it even a little higher, in this little window here, underwater again, possibly panic selling in this region, things of that nature. The same, things back and forth, kind of like how Magic said, right? Everybody acts the same all the time. But yeah, so that'd be what I'm looking for ETH. Hope that makes sense. Really three major levels, obviously, depending on your strategy. If you want to DCA in every dollar on the way down, go for it. But there's only three levels that make sense to me. And then taking a look at XRP, just on the flip side here, right? Getting a rally up to 589, I do believe. Very simple range that I've been looking for on XRP. We do have some more in-depth charts for XRP as well, but it's a little bit of a shorter time. This is the Q2 range as well. We were living pretty much below that point of control for quite some time. Basically claimed that the other day with a couple of 4-hour candle closes here. You can see how this was pretty well respected on the way down, right? Kind of held it, lost it. Could not get back above that since basically June. Came up, took it out, and untapped quarterly in the range high were the two targets that for us in the short term. I met both of those so far. Right now, we're living back below the quarterly key level here. Very possible to come all the way back down to the point of control. And if you do lose that, you're just going to rotate this range once again. XRP, break this range. You got the golden pocket up in this region. Does get these really nice quick moves, right? It's probably one of the biggest examples I give personally, because so many times, granted this wasn't 100% move, but almost actually 70%. So many times in 2018, I would be holding XRP and I would get super excited on these little pumps and just not sell at all. Like yesterday in the feeds on Twitter, Magic and I were kind of talking about this. It was like every single person was just automatically back to, $20, $8, $10, like right away, targets. And obviously the entire market is just not in a position where, it just doesn't make sense for really anything to just like perform wildly like that. You might have an outlier here or there, something like Chainlink back in the day. Maybe it is XRP, who knows? But what tends to happen is the same thing, right? We were just talking about how at the low, everybody's fearful. At the high, nobody ever wants to sell because, you're blinded by the idea that it's just going to continue ripping to the upside. And even if you are down on your, if you bought $2, this and that, my biggest regret back in the day was not selling the 70 to 100% pumps and waiting a few weeks and buying back, at the 50%.
I was going to say, you said nobody wants to sell, but I'll tell you guys what, someone's selling. They've got a lot of it, and that's why those pumps get sold down. So you guys are literally just liquidity for them to sell into. Those guys buying those tops, man. That's it.
Always. Like literally, I think I sent that screenshot to you yesterday. It was legit nothing. I was like, this is why nobody will sell. I mean, because it's just everybody immediately is like, this something big is or whatever. You can't stop what's coming and blah 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 blah. And At the end of the day, it was literally a simple range rotation. I mean, yesterday was at the time it was coming up, tagging the untapped quarterly, and then we just kind of shot it up. So it'll be interesting to see how XRP prevails here. But next area, if we claim the high, I'd be looking for about that 68, 70 cent region, and then updates from there, of course. But at the moment, living back in, not even living back, never broke out. So just basically ran to the high, living below the untapped quarterly. You have to imagine we probably will come back down to the point of control unless things change here. So that's you got anything on XRP actually, Magic? I know your chart is you got a couple of those.
Not really.
Or is like the lock, like the higher time frame?
Kind of, but not really. It's not really worth talking about. Scott Carney posted a bat on it, and its first target's like 68 cents, something near that golden pocket. And for me, not really looking for that until we get a confirmed low out of the Bitcoin. I'll just say this, that there's a running joke in the space that when XRP pumps, the market dumps afterwards because it's the last one to do anything. So I was making that joke this entire pump that the market's going to dump now because XRP is pumping. I hopped on the XRP train because I gave those targets over a year ago and might as well trade them. So I did trade them mainly because I found all that XRP in a wallet. And I was like, you know what, I'll go ahead and just trade this, make a little back. But I think that more than likely, if Bitcoin's going down, there's no reason to look at XRP doing anything significant or decoupling, as people are saying. I think that's an asinine statement, and you guys should probably unfollow all those XRP pump accounts because they're not feeding you anything good. All they're doing is feeding you guys emotion and no real data or trading advice. I think that if it stays range bound, you really need to be holding on to probably, I have that chart somewhere. Let's take a look at the old.
It's funny to see this too, because it's XRP and Doge and Shiba. Those three are like anything else in the market, anything else could pump like 100%, and it's like, okay, cool, you know. But if XRP moves 30%, man, you would think the entire market is back in a bull run with the amount of just craziness. And like I said, the FOMO like is initiated by those three easily. Like Bitcoin could go 100%, it'd be exciting, but if XRP pumps, boy, it's on.
Yeah, I gotta find that which tab I have the XRP chart under. I was just on it not that long ago. I usually keep it underneath. I thought it was underneath my YouTube charts, but I'm pretty sure I put it back underneath shitcoins. Sorry, not sorry, guys. Here to hurt your feelings today. Is that it? That's the one. Yeah, I'll show this one. This was posted by Scott Carney. So this is the hopium of XRP right here. I actually did not like this at first. I still kind of don't. He had posted he posted a bat on the weekly, which I don't really like it because of how quick the A to B to C came in. But if you were to measure X to A and then C to D, they're quite symmetrical, almost 1-to-1. So it is symmetrical in some run-up fashion and run-down fashion in terms of time. And this was the area that I gave in like June of 2021. This was the target. This is your target zone between 36 and 29. Personally, if you're zooming out on this asset, the crux of that analysis did come from basically looking at this zone, knowing that when you got to here, you were going to get a nice pump. You're just looking for your gold pocket and some range highs at that point. Made finding this top actually much easier than it sounds. And then you were targeting the overall POC of this structure, which came in at 29 cents. So I think if you were looking at it, like the levels are going to all be pretty similar, 39.2 cents or 36.94, that little 3 cent region, you're really going to want to see that held on to. If you don't, you're probably coming back to challenge these lows. And if you make new lows, you do have an overall range. I would be looking for 19 cents, then 17, and obviously 14 is way down here, which is a must hold level, as you can see. One thing I'll talk about on it, and I cover this a little bit on Quant too, which I know this is going to probably piss off a lot of people, but it pissed off a lot of people when I told them Quant was going down sub $200 when it was trading for 4 something. So don't really care. When you guys have a massive run up like this is the type of price action you get when you get appreciation like that. That's why it didn't make a new all-time high, is because you're going to have to range this out and cleanse the books a little bit. And it takes a long time to do that. So when assets make runs like this, they do become range bound. And sometimes you get these massive ranges, they turn into tops, not accumulation ranges. So this is a range. And as of right now, this is attempting to put in a higher low at the point of control of the overall range, which, in theory would be bullish, right? In theory, this is a bullish event. This Bitstamp showing that POC is actually lower, so that's not good for you guys. But in theory, it would be a bullish event if it held the lows here, in theory. But if you come back down to the range low, it is still a range until it's not. So it is an opportunity, and you would probably get a sizable bounce out of this region. But if that range didn't hold, you can see that you've got plenty of voids down here to fill. And that would probably be on the, the back end of something really terrible happening in traditional markets, in Bitcoin, et cetera, et cetera. Those are all way out there hypothetical situations that we're not quite there yet. But we're going to be approaching those times eventually. And when I say eventually, I mean, could be 6 months, could be 8 months, could be several weeks. We don't know. So it's in your best interest to have it mapped out in advance. That's all I'll really say about that. If you don't have a plan for if XRP doesn't go to all-time highs from here or back to the top of the range, which I think would be highly unlikely, you don't have a plan for this area of the chart. If your plan is just to buy and hold this thing until you're a millionaire, I would say the probabilities and the odds of that happening are pretty low. So you're better off just going and buying lottery tickets. That's if you're going off that ideology, I guess I should say. So I would have a plan for this region, know how you're going to trade it. I know how I'm going to trade it. If we come back to these levels, well, this is a pretty nice low right here that I think would get back tested. It's right into an old POC between 28 and 29 cents. I'd be watching that area to get reclaimed and see if we couldn't change market structure. In this region, you can already see right here, I've got the lows marked off of our prior structure, which this was a descending triangle, to get the final distribution right here. So you're essentially trying to get back inside the structure and over the EQ of your overall range, which, comes up to about as high as 62 cents. If you were to run the data on it in terms of overall range, I think realistically like 80 some cents is a pretty big level still, like 88 cents if I recall. So yeah, I'd be pretty neutral. This is a big inflection point for this asset, coming back to this EQ of the range up to about 60 cents. You really want to see this held as support. And when you do hold this as support, what do? Well, you usually trade back to about $1, or make an attempt into that 88 cents or 89 cents, what we said. Yeah, about right there. So I would expect that if you can claim this area, you could look up, but not until then. This is literally just a back test of resistance, which you've done here and here. And like you were saying here, all the way back down to range low off of that move. And then again here, back down to 39 cents. So this is resistance until proven otherwise. It would be wise, looking at the macro chart, to expect a retest of this support potentially. It's not going to just it's very unlikely this just does this, right? It very likely it comes back down and tries to back test some support. So I would expect to see probably 39 to 36 cents again at a minimum. And then go from there. And, it probably lines up with whatever you've got on your range as well. But if that doesn't hold, you start losing this and you find yourself back inside this structure. I need to get rid of this magnet while I'm using the brush. But then, yeah, it makes more sense than not to come back down to your range low. And you get to play the game again. You get to decide, where are we at in terms of the market? Are we at support for the rest of the market like we are right now? So the S&P, again, big support. I would expect there to be a reaction here. It's not going to just nuke through. It's very unlikely without a black swan event that this just goes straight down to these levels. It does take time, could take weeks, could take months. But if this support is being tested over and over and does not hold, yeah, you'll see these levels. So what you're looking to do is, I'm not trading the S&P 500. I just cover it because it seems like everybody wants traditional market analysis. I'm more interested in the Bitcoin chart and using that as confirmation for some of these altcoins as well. I would like to see Bitcoin reclaim the range, put in a sizable move of strength to kind of give me more confidence that I'm longing closer to the bottom than expecting a potential 50% drawdown still. So that's where I'm at on it. But yeah, with XRP, you're right into resistance. So I wouldn't FOMO in right here. I would try to be patient, see if you couldn't get a pullback if you're really convinced that this is the life altering switch flipping or whatever you guys say to each other. You know, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors at the XRP clubs that are out there. I'm sure it's very interesting. But if you're looking for an entry and your time horizon is however long it takes you to be a millionaire, then yeah, sure, go ahead and buy 48 cents. I don't care. But I would be patient. That's just my opinion. You know, this is a big area of, you know, I did take some profits in this region. After the longs, my longs were like 34 cents, I think was my average after accumulating. So not the greatest entry, but not terrible either. So I'm happy with it. I've left some of that position open. I'm not closing all of it because we got to see what's going to come of BTC, the S&P 500 at support. You just can't be liquidating all of your assets when the overall market is coming into that type of support. So for me, pretty neutral on XRP. Now, as far as this goes, if this played out, these are your targets all the way up here at 87 cents, which we just talked about the importance of 87 cents, right? You see that right here? That is, I guess I'll put the line on the chart so you guys can see what I'm talking about. It's about right here. That's 85. We'll change it to 87 so you guys can see exactly what they're looking at, right? It's this yellow line right here. So that's 87 cents. And if you were to look at this for your first B leg target, 87.41 cents. Also a macro 382. Yeah, I mean, that would be quite the move, though. That would probably require Bitcoin to be putting in a formal macro low, in my opinion. I don't see XRP just doing that on its own. You know, the S&P 500 would be giving everyone a giant fake out, and the Fed would likely be pivoting in that scenario. So I feel like we would see that coming long before. So it is what it is. For me, I wouldn't trade this until we have confirmation of a change in trend in terms of policy and assigning strength out of Bitcoin. Probably not going to be what anyone that's an XRP homer wants to hear, because I know you guys are very heavily involved in this basically being the only asset that matters. But yeah, that's just the facts, unfortunately.
I like it. All right. I think that's about all the time we got for everybody today. Hope you enjoyed this little update. Max, you got anything spicy for us as we finish up?
No, to be honest, volume's just pretty. It's not, well, you know, you're getting the move up. You have had a buying imbalance up in this region. You've got two here that you can spot. But ultimately, the volume's pretty low. You know, you've got 1.2 million in that buying imbalance there, so it is nice. Again, ultimately, I'm just looking for that daily, to be fair. I'm just kind of holding off on anything unless it reclaims this daily and, you know, you could argue it's, you know, gone above that level that was support earlier, the previous devalue area on TradingView. Unless it starts to reclaim this region, you know, ultimately, you know, this is just a little bounce.
Setting up for a nice SFP into the daily.
Yeah, there you go.
That'd be the play.
Tap up, and yeah, your conservative buy is a swing failure pattern of this. There you go. Said from Magic himself.
Would be nice. I don't have anything else.
I don't have it.
Mr. Q says Black Swan is incoming. Appreciate you, sir. Send it. Let's just get this over with.
Just nuke it and let's go. Get to the devil's basement and turn around.
I'm trying to be homeless by next week. If you could make that happen, that'd be great. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I got nothing else. If you guys want to hop off, we've been live for 48 minutes. Probably a good stop point.
Yep, perfect. Awesome. Tune in next Friday for our weekly roundup, I suppose we could consider this. Hope you all have a great afternoon, evening, beautiful world, wherever you are. And Max, good night. Be sure to get your oatmeals ready for the morning.